Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them, in word of truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. The Aquath that are listening and learning, being a pillar of rest, the 144,000 and 1/3, the hopeful elect of Israel, and the brother Yahshua. All right, so this lesson will be called caterpillars, or like caterpillars, or as with caterpillars. All right, what is that? Well, it's in the scriptures. Jeremiah 51:14. Let's get 13. Salakia. We'll start right here. Jeremiah 51:11. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes for his device against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple, okay? The spirit of the kings of the Medes is going straight back to Vlad, Putin, if you will. Set up, where'd we go? Set up the standard on the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. So Babylon the Great is under attack, all right? And I'm getting to the caterpillars, because the caterpillars are the migrants, okay? 13. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness, the Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men. Surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. These are the migrants coming in right now. Why? This is severe judgment against Babylon, and the Most High is setting it up for what? To be destroyed. You see the ambushes, right? Prepare the watchmen, make the watch strong, set up the watch. And we're watching. And guess what? We're watching them set up these ambushes. All right, so let's see, caterpillars. It begins. NYC starts arresting migrants. This guy done put together a like 15-minute summary of the individuals that so-called beat up the New York City cop, and then got caught in Arizona or whatever. These are those caterpillars. Now, right here, one day ago, Syriana analysis, New York Times columnist compares Muslims to insects. I wonder what kind of insects. So this looks like a Armenian, Kavork. I could be wrong, IAN, but talking about Friedman here, who is probably a small hat. And look at all of the biblical references. U.S. is like an old lion. We are still the king of the Middle East jungle. Look at this. More powerful than any single actor. Da 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 da. So let's listen to what this small hat has to say about caterpillars. All right.
Yes, this is the summary. The United States is like an old lion. So the United States is an old lion, guys. We are still the king of the Middle East jungle. More powerful than any single actor, but we have so many scars from so many fights that we just can't just show up, roar loudly, and expect that everyone will do what we want or scamper away. So guys, the United States is the lion, but it's a tired lion because they were fighting a lot in the past, and they cannot just come and tell every actor to do what they want according to him. Iran is to geopolitics what a recently discovered species of parasitoid wasp is to nature. So Iran is a parasitoid wasp, right? Iran is a wasp. I'm just writing here. Iran is a wasp. US is the lion, guys. So the wasp injects its eggs into live caterpillars, and the baby wasp larvae slowly eat the caterpillar from the inside out, bursting out once they have eaten their fill. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? So we have wasps now.
This is hilarious.
And we have lions. Is there a better description of Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, and Iraq today? They are the caterpillars. So the countries Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, and Iraq are the caterpillars, and the wasps are multiplying inside the caterpillar, and they're going to kill the caterpillar at the end. So the eye.
What? No, it looks like Iran is putting the battery in the caterpillar's back. Okay, because you got Hezbollah down on the southern border of Mexico. All of these. And who put the battery in their back? Iran did. All right, so anyway, you got all of this imagery. You got caterpillars, right? Hey, the Most High said what? He's going to fill up Babylon with caterpillars. Where'd they go? Right here. Jeremiah 51:14, the Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men. Who's coming across the southern border right now? Hezbollah is right in Mexico training right now. As with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. We see that happen. All right, so now let's go here and keep it short. We're going to play a bit of this. Let this guy set it up. But he's really a documentarist. This Cash Jordan, 2 hours ago it begins. So let's watch this, and what do we make of this? We got to keep our eye on this because this is an ongoing story. These kids got grabbed up. They let them go, which was very suspicious, but they're sending out a message. The caterpillars are here. Let's watch the caterpillars in action. Take it away.
Several asylum seekers were recently arrested after an attack took place on the NYPD right here in Times Square. But after being controversially released, they may have fled the city and the country, and critics say this kind of thing is probably going to happen again.
Plenty of questions tonight about the aftermath of a brutal attack.
4 out of the 5 men originally arrested were released without bail.
Why aren't they in jail right now? Our criminal justice system is upside down.
Even more concerning, it's believed some of those suspects have already skipped town.
What do you have to say to the people of New York? You have nothing to say to the citizens of New York?
Police report a jump of 1,885 assaults in 2022 to 2,235 last year.
Here we are in Times Square, right where this incident took place. Now, some of the people involved have been arrested, released, others never got caught, and there's a manhunt underway for them right now. Where are you guys from?
Arizona.
If people beat up the cops in Arizona, do they get released without bail?
No.
Now, why those folks walked free, that's its own controversial issue, which we'll get to. But first, it's important to understand that although there seems to be mass outrage over all of this from everybody, including citizens and the police, what many people don't realize is that this kind of thing in New York, an attack against police or something crazy that just goes unpunished, that's how things normally work in New York. And look at this, late last year, police officers were assaulted after asking people to stop smoking cigarettes in the subway where there's cameras everywhere. The officer in that incident ended up in the hospital. And look at this other crazy story nobody heard about. Someone had an illegal weapon in the subway, committed a crime, and they were also released without bail. And what that means is this story, the controversial arrest and release of these suspects, is part of a much larger thing happening here in New York that is very frightening and that nobody really wants to discuss.
That's the point. It's all part of a much larger device that we are not ignorant unto. All right, but just see how it all adds up and see how it's all coming straight out of the script. The the scriptures.
And that's why we're not only going to break down what happened between police and the asylum seekers, we're also going to go over why the district attorney released them without bail, and we're going to look at actions the NYPD is now taking that some people think are controversial and retaliatory. But first, we've got to go over why the NYPD was attacked right here in one of the busiest, most iconic parts of New York City.
See, he's a bit of a documentarist. I don't quite know how to say that, but that's what I see. It's really slick.
Around 8:30,
And surprisingly,
you can see 5 men and 2
surprisingly up to date. Okay, because he gets into how they were arrested, and although he spends very little time on that, but we get the Caterpillar story. So.
officers interacting on camera. Seems calm and ordinary until the pair of officers attempt to take down one of the men in yellow, pictured here. And then it gets ugly. We saw the video. Reprehensible. Cowards. It starts with
So, as you can see from the video, the police, they were here and they were just out on a routine patrol. But then they saw something suspicious happening and decided to move in. And then they put their hands on one of the individuals, and that's when everything took a turn for the worse. Now, these officers, they're armed. And even though this was an extremely tragic incident, armed officers could have decided to escalate things further. And the fact that they didn't shows incredible restraint on their part. But to add insult to injury, the controversial actions taken by Manhattan's district attorney probably made the whole situation way worse, as you're about to see.
Tia Bragg, why did you not ask for bail? Why didn't you ask for bail? District Attorney Alvin Bragg trying to get away from questions about his decision to release 5 migrants charged with assaulting 2 NYPD officers in Times Square. You have nothing to...
Okay, so what we're watching here is never let a good crisis go to waste. Once they understood the situation and the magnitude and how this could play in the media, right? They went with it. They let him go. You know they had a tail on him, right? And what are they doing? They're inflaming both sides of this paradigm out here. All right? The Babylonians are fucking livid about this situation. And they're flaunting it right in their face. Look, you can get out of... Here's a get out of jail free card. You can beat down the police. We'll let you go. Here's some money. Go to the West Coast. What are they saying?
Say to the citizens of New York,
No bail. You're free to go, but you have to come back. That's essentially what these guys were told. And critics say that the failure to
See, Esau reacts to this completely different than Jake. Esau is absolutely livid, so he starts telling on himself just by reporting on it. He's given his version of events and how he feels about it. He don't even know his tongue is falling on himself. So anyway.
officers and the public by keeping these people off the streets is setting the wrong signal. Basically, it's letting the crime world know that there aren't a whole lot of consequences here for doing something like this. Now,
Especially if you're white. You can do white collar crime and get away with it and become rich and famous by stealing and killing. But when Jake does it at the lowest fucking rung, he sold 3 nickel bags, nigga, you got to go to jail for 20 years. And didn't even bring whatever he was selling across the border.
it's the district attorney's job to protect the general public by keeping dangerous criminals off the streets. And it's not like bail denies someone their freedom. You post bail and you get the bail back as long as you come back. And look, I don't know as much about the law as the district attorney does, whether you agree with him or not, but critics say he's controversially claiming that there wasn't enough evidence to hold these guys in lieu of bail in the first place. This is one of the folks who was released, and regardless of whether or not he's innocent, this isn't a respectful way to act around law.
Just this in itself, when you see this is a sign. We're going to make sure we show this motherfucker with his fingers up saying, fuck you. You got to know when you're being played. All right? So if they're making it their business to make sure that this is part of the story, what is this doing? Who is this making mad? It's making Esau livid. Oh, they let him go. This motherfucker's flipping me off. You got to go get those Indians, N-words, whatever you want to call them, Negroes, Gad was classified as Negro, right? When they was taking their money.
Enforcement. And now that they've been released, the only thing holding them accountable to come back to court is the honor system because they're out on their own right now.
The honor system coming from the devil. You get to make up what the honors are. You're standing on stolen land, well-to-do with what you call generational wealth that is only good for the next 5 years before this place is gone. But you proud as you can be as though it has no problems in the world. Them caterpillars, buddy. Caterpillars are here.
It could be anywhere, and nobody seems to know where that is. Now, the latest information that the police have is that the suspects fled the city after using fake names to obtain bus tickets through a non-profit. People are saying...
Now we're watching the infrastructure for the MOTB. Because what they're saying is, nigga, we can let you go all the way across country and we know exactly where you are, can grab you at any time. And that's what they're doing. They're actually showing that. Watch.
By using a bus to get out of town through a nonprofit, they likely would have encountered very few police on their way out of the state. And that probably means they won't be back in court. But this raises a much larger, more concerning question.
Why did these 4 individuals be released on their own recognizance? Our criminal justice system is upside down.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, not just in New York, but in the entire country, have very similar questions. But the way that the courts work in New York City is why these guys were released. And that's because there are 2 schools of thought on how to prosecute crime. The first is to prosecute everybody and lock them up and throw away the key. And the second is that over-prosecuting crime or prosecuting the wrong person for the wrong crime is going to have a negative impact on society as a whole, so we should be very careful before we turn the wheels of justice. And that's
the beginning of the end. You see? You're conflicted, you're confounded. Babylon is confounded. Is there a wise man no more in Teman? Okay, because this place is fighting against itself.
Is why the district attorney said that there wasn't enough evidence to hold everybody that was on video. He didn't want to prosecute the wrong people. And the reason people say not enough video evidence is kind of ridiculous is because Times Square is one of the most heavily surveilled places in America. And that's why the release of these suspects, as outrageous as some might find it, that's just how things work here in the city. But there's another problem, and that's because New York City is a sanctuary city, and that special status may have actually made things easier for the suspects to escape and possibly evade justice.
You see how Esau is painting the whole, I'm going to paint you my picture and tell you what's wrong. Well, here's what you don't understand. The Most High got his hand all the way up in your back making you do everything that's going to destroy you. You don't even know it. Because you're the most proud. So.
There is some question whether the city's sanctuary city status would keep these men from being deported until after they are convicted. However, the mayor's chief of staff today says if federal authorities wish to deport the city, will cooperate.
So it sounds like city officials are deferring to the federal government on the issue of deportation. And as much as the governor and other folks are crying for deportation for these same individuals, that's not something the city has any control over. And it's not like New York is a sanctuary city by accident, and it might be part of the reason why the suspects were so able to easily find a sympathetic non-for-profit that would help them out without asking too many questions. And the reason they probably went with a non-profit for the bus tickets instead of the city, who also offers them for free, is because if you go to the city's re-ticketing center, it's surrounded by police. They're gonna know exactly who you are. You're gonna be on camera, and sometimes...
Did you get all that? See how Esau, and this is what a criminal, and this is, nigga, you're the criminal. Of course you know all the ins and outs of crime, Crimson.
Across the street from where the city is giving out free bus tickets, nonprofits do things like food giveaways and clothing drives, and they even hand out resources like this pamphlet right here in Spanish that helps connect new arrivals with legal support, housing support. But it seems like the generosity of local New Yorkers was taken advantage of, as well as the generosity of the court system. But where exactly could these folks ultimately be headed? Are they going to stay in America or go somewhere else? Do you want to learn that?
Play a little bit more up until the part where they get caught in Arizona. So.
New information coming from a high-ranking police source reveals the suspects may be headed for the Mexican border.
Okay, now listen to how quickly they explain where they were. And then they got caught and moved on. And they're going to move on.
It says they're due in court on the 20th, and calls grow louder for them to be deported.
So if these guys are headed to Mexico, I don't know how they're going to make it back here in order to go to court on time. They might not make it. But as it turns out, some of the suspects were recently arrested in Arizona, and it remains to be seen what their ultimate fate will be. And even if they...
You see how this whole thing is clipped up, and you only spent 2 seconds to say that they were actually apprehended. Where are you going from there? And one of them they had in custody the whole time. So you could just bend and twist this thing and turn it into whatever you want to send whatever message you want to. But the underlying message is what? What are you not seeing? The caterpillars.
back to the city, there will probably still be some sort of court case and charges that are filed against these guys. They may in fact be convicted. If that does happen, there could be arrest warrants for them, so they'll probably not do themselves any favors by coming back. But only about half of the folks involved have been apprehended so far, and there's a manhunt going on now for the rest.
This morning, the search continues for 6 asylum seekers. Governor Hochul had this to say on Thursday.
Get them all and send them back. You don't touch our police officers. You don't touch anybody.
Around the same time, the governor...
So, as it turns out, one person was actually charged and held with bail, $15,000, and the reasons for the...
Now, they're barely, after all that, now they're saying, well, there was one guy who they had the whole time. See, so they're spinning this. They're never letting a good crisis go to waste. They're scaring the American people. Oh, these killers are on the loose. Killer caterpillars on the loose. Well, you know where this is going, all right? Oh, well, we had one the whole time. Now there's 6. You're only showing 4. What are you doing, Esau? Slipping a little bit.
holding him right now are shocking. Apparently, he's been arrested 4 other times for petty larceny, which is theft of amounts under $1,000. Now a misdemeanor charge here in New York. Plus, he's got 2 open cases and a guilty plea on disorderly conduct charges, which means he's had 6 run-ins with the police thus far. And it's worth noting that if this person hadn't been involved in the police assault, if they had stolen something for the 5th time, they would still be out there. The only reason they even got held is because they committed this crazy thing after doing several other very bad things. But as frustrating as all this may seem, the NYPD has started a massive crackdown on certain types of illegal activity, so much so that humanitarian activists are saying that it almost seems retaliatory for what happened to them in Times Square.
And solution. Problem, reaction, and solution. So anyway, you can see where this is going. You can make this into whatever you want to. Oh, well, they got caught and then they're getting away and then we're scaring the people. And how about them caterpillars, though? All right. What about them caterpillars with 14? Right? As with caterpillars. All right. So this is 2 Ezra 15. 2 Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth not, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, right? Or watch. A man shall desire to go into the city and shall not be able. They wanted to get to California and got grabbed up. For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. All the way down. Here we go. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with a sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So we're in this time, and the caterpillars are here. Killer caterpillars, what? Strike. The killer caterpillars strike. All right, so with that, we hope that the elect are edified. Keep your head up on a swivel. Be circumspect. We hope that the elect are edified. You brothers and sisters, shalom.